going to review 2 ciders today in preparation for our tasting on Thursday, June 18th at Grapes and Gallery. So we have 2 things here today. We have the Doc's Hard Apple Cider. Can y'all see that? And also the Sonoma Cider, the Anvil, which is the one aged in bourbon barrels. So Jim, go ahead, kick us off about ciders.
So ciders are obviously made from pressed apples plus other adjuncts and or yeast. So the Doc's, stand by, you gotta pause it.
I don't think we can pause.
There's no pause.
We're going to edit. Hang on, I go get my ciders. I left them in the fridge.
Oh, Jim, fail. They're not on the beer wall? What's that about?
All right.
Hey, just remember, you get what you pay for.
Right, exactly.
All right.
You remember that as well.
So the Doc's draft
Yes.
is from New York State apples and fermented with champagne yeast. I'm sure that gives it a more bubbly flavor / appearance.
Let's try it out and see.
And it weighs in at a hefty 6%. Very sectionable. I know there's lots of other ciders that are more than that. It's very bubbly, very nice looking, kind of light.
Jim, I know you're an expert at tasting beer, but ciders are a little bit different. Or do you want to just go through the same process that we do with beer? Do you want to walk us through that?
Sure. Yeah, so it is a little bit different because there's generally no head on ciders. The color doesn't vary a whole lot. It can be really light to kind of bourbon looking. The biggest thing with ciders is you want to make sure, just like the beer, you want to kind of look at it. You want to give it a smell. And then as you take your first sip, just make sure you kind of inhale as you sip. Because 85% of the flavor comes from the nose. So as I taste it, you kind of swirl it around a little bit and just make sure you get all of it, because this is a little bit different than beers. Beers you'll worry about kind of mouthfeel and just some other things, but the ciders are a little bit different, so kind of a little one-sided here as we taste the ciders. But what we're looking for in taste in anything is aroma, appearance, the actual taste of it, kind of how it sits on your palate, and then a lot of times you want to give it sort of an overall. And as we go through these beers for the next few weeks, or however many times we do this, we're actually going to be rating these hopefully live on Rate Beer, so people who want to can join us and can see what we think, see what they think, and actually come to the gallery and taste it for themselves.
Yeah, definitely. Tony, are you a fan of ciders? Is that something that you drink often, or?
I don't know. It depends. Sometimes I went with the flute today because it is kind of bubbly. I mean, it's all right. Mostly I drink it because Sam wants to drink it.
Happy wife, happy life.
Mm-hmm. But no, it's all right, and you can kind of taste it. I feel like this tastes like sweet champagne.
It does, now that you said that, and this is the second time that I've had it since we've tried it, but mine is a little bit warm. It's more room temperature, so I do get more of a champagne feel to it, which I like. I like it better than when we tried it the other day. So.
Yeah, it's actually nice. I mean, mine's been sitting here for a few minutes, and it's very bubbly. It's interesting.
What kind of glass are you putting there, Jim?
That's a good question. Besides my favorite brewery, it's actually just a standard glass, kind of nothing special. But with these tall glasses, it'll let some of the flavors come up, and also lets the bubbles come up, which transport flavor from the bottom as well. This is good. I like it. I mean, I think seems to me to be a pretty good non-traditional, I guess, handcrafted cider.
Definitely. It's out of New York. Is that right? Is that what we said?
That's correct. Made with New York State apples.
So is there any history on the ciders as far as how they came about? Does anyone know that?
Don't remember.
Don't remember. From what I remember, it was something about that's what they drank instead of the contaminated water until England brought over the beers. So then the ciders kind of went away. But I think with the gluten-free, people that can afford to be gluten-free, I think that the ciders are making a big comeback.
Definitely, and I think this is one of the. I mean, it's just like craft beer. So they call them handcrafted ciders, but I mean it's kind of the same thing. There's smaller cideries everywhere. So definitely for the gluten-free people, it's a really good option.
Awesome. Okay, is there any other ciders that we would like to compare this to that we don't have here today? I mean, I know that some of the mainstream stuff that you see in the grocery stores, Angry Orchard, I know that's some of the stuff that Justin likes when he comes in, but we don't carry that. But do y'all have any experience with tasting any of those?
Some of those are really sweet, I think. I think this is kind of nice because it's not overly sweet. But yeah, like Angry Orchard, Woodchuck, those seem, from memory, they seem like they're a little sweeter.
I agree. I think that caters to more of the mainstream drinker as well. When we see people that come in that drink wine that are not really big drinkers, they want the sweetest thing possible. I guess that's easier on the palate for some people that don't drink a lot.
Right, and I think this would be a good change for people too. It should be a decent, you like sweet wines. I mean, this isn't too far from like a really sweet, bubbly kind of champagne. So, I mean, it's maybe a good kind of transition into different things for some people.
Yeah, that's a good point. And with it being summer and it's 105 degrees here, I mean, we're all looking for something a little bit lighter.
That's right.
Definitely.
Most definitely.
Are there any other flavors that you see besides apple out there as far as ciders are concerned?
I mean, I've seen some, I've seen pear. I've seen just kind of any sort of variation of sort of a sweet fruit. I think there's even a peach cider out there. I don't know how that works, but it seems like now they can make anything they want to and any flavor they want to make it good. But that sort of appeals to mainstream as well. But to get a decent handcrafted cider like that is pretty good.
So just the thought, you know how some people take the IPAs and turn them into something else, or they take a pale ale and turn it into an IPA. Do you anticipate anybody taking a cider and turning it into an IPA? That would be interesting if we added some of those hops we were playing with to it.
It's true. Yeah, when I know there are dry hop ciders.
Well, Doc's apparently has a dry hop cider.
Who's that?
Doc's, they apparently have a dry hop cider. Because I got on Rate My Beer, and it was one of the ones that came up on the list.
Okay.
Oh, I haven't seen that. I'll check my product list and see if we can get some of that. That's interesting.
That's kind of a crossover of everything. Hybrid, if you will.
A hybrid, if you will. Like it. All right, do y'all want to move on to the next one?
Sure.
Tell Sam she could have her leftovers. All right, next up, the Sonoma cider. I got this one at the gallery recently just to see how it compared to the Doc's. It is aged in bourbon barrels. The first time I tasted this one was about 6 months ago. I tasted it with the rep, but she had their cider here, their cider that's just plain apple, and then she also had their pear. So tasting all three of them at once was a little bit much for me. So I kind of steered away from them then, but I brought them back this time just because it is aged in bourbon and the bourbon barrels, so it gives it a little different taste. So I wanted to give the gluten-free people a little more choice.
There you go.
So we'll see if we like it.
So this is the Sonoma. They call it the Anvil. So it's Anvil because it packs a punch with the bourbon. It's about 6%, or in fact, it is 6%. Made with U.S. apples, and then actually it says on their natural bourbon flavor. Um, it's really a great color. I like it a lot. It's kind of one of my favorite colors in nature is this amber-ish. It also reminds me of an IPA. So when you smell it, it's really got a nice sort of light bourbon on the rocks type smell. So that actually might appeal to some of the bourbon drinkers.
That's true. We should try it on ice too. That might be an interesting concept too.
Oh yeah, nice. And this isn't as bubbly. Not as bubbly as the last one.
No, it's not. It's darker though, for sure.
Yeah, it is.
I'm still getting some bubbles on there. It's a nice at the beginning.
Yeah, and it's not very dry. It's kind of nice. Probably the non-bourbon barrel aged would be good too.
Yeah,
and
that's
this
true.
actually it's certified organic, so there you go. There's that too.
So we can reach the organic people and the gluten-free.
Right.
They're usually all in the same though, right?
That's right.
Tony, what do you think? You like it?
It's all right. It's not my favorite. I like the way it looks better than the other, but I personally don't get a whole lot of bourbon from it. But it is a little, I guess seems more tart than the other.
More tart than sweet?
Yeah.
For sure, definitely. It's kind of got a little pucker factor at the end. It's good though. It's not
That
bad.
makes sense. I'm going back to the first one to see the difference. So just a pop quiz. What are we all swishing with in between? Jim's probably got a resin on.
Well, no, it's right there.
Yeah.
No, I've had. Actually, I have a 7 Mile Bridge English IPA
Nice.
from Florida. It's terrible, actually. It's bad.
Let's rate that beer. Woo.
Yeah, you don't want me to rate that.
Not at all.
But you can tell the difference in the two. I mean, these are it's just a cider. I mean, and that's the difference in the bourbon barrel and then the regular. It's kind of interesting.
It is. I saw the tasting sheets about this one. They show a lot of the vineyard there, and it's a dad and son, and they're just making these ciders. And these are the only three that they do are the Anvil, and then they have the pear, and then also just the plain apple. So it's a pretty interesting story to see people that are actually doing stuff. They're just normal people.
Mm-hmm. Sure, absolutely. That's what makes it fun, right?
Right.
Different people do different things.
Right.
And not pretentious to make it the craft industry.
That's right. All right. Well, what else do we need to do? Are we going to do our bonus tasting today?
Sure.
Maybe we should start from here so we could say this
Yeah.
and edit it out.
I gotta clear my palate with the Dales. Hang on.
Hang on. At least you're not trapped in a car with no opening device this time.
Somebody coming up behind me?
Yeah, some strangers. Watch out, Scooby's behind you.
It's weird.
Yeah, if he starts inching closer to me, let me know.
That would be
actually
hilarious.
awesome. If you had Sam kind of behind you, and you should just pull a little bit closer each time.
Yeah.
And towards the end, it's like right here.
It's like choking you out, like UFC.
Yeah, then camera blacks out.
Well, apparently I only brought 2 glasses, so I need to finish one of these.
Same here. I'm sure Tony has 3.
I've got 3.
Poor planning here.
Always prepared. That's why we like you. All right, so for our bonus tasting today, we had some great news this week. I asked my sales rep for where to buy the Westbrook's anniversary Mexican cake. She informed me that I was crazy and I would never find it. They sell out in 5 minutes. But then she called me a couple of days later to tell me that she had been allocated a new case and that it was all ours. So they're all sold out in the first day, but we have a few here that we can taste. All right, tell us about Westbrook, Jim. Do you know much about Westbrook? I know it's a South Carolina local to us, but
Yeah, they're actually North Charleston.
mm-hmm.
They are actually Mount Pleasant. I'm sorry. They're fairly decent brewery. They're kind of, and they tend to be hooked up with Evil Twin a lot. Evil Twin is kind of a gypsy brewery, and they brew out of Westbrook as well. So they kind of do some double duty. Westbrook has some really good stuff. Their IPA is kind of a standard IPA in the Southeast region. This Mexican Cake is actually their anniversary beer. They started brewing it in 2011, and it was so well received that they've done it ever since. They've kind of been pretty good, on the market, pretty good innovator as far as things. They have, some gozas and IPAs and some different stuff, so they're pretty well known.
I didn't know that about Evil Twin being out of that. That's interesting. I've seen a lot more stuff with Evil Twin lately. So
yeah, they're kind of innovative. So it's interesting to. I guess they're known as gypsy brewers, so that's what they call them.
Jim, I'm going to quiz you real quick on the just as far as what a stout is versus anything else. How do you define a stout? Much less an imperial stout, as this one says right there.
Yeah, nowadays it's really hard with all the different hybrids and stuff. But basically, it's a really dark ale made with really dark malts. Typically, a little bit higher alcohol. Most of the time, it's a chocolate type flavor. Roasty, chocolate, coffee. Those types of flavors lend well to a stout. Imperial stout is just kind of double that. Generally, a little bit higher in alcohol. They usually age really well. So you'll find a lot of stouts and a lot of imperial stouts aged in bourbon barrels, because that's kind of the new thing. Just to import some new flavors. And typically, the bigger stouts are, some of the breweries will take chances and like this, and they come out fantastic. This has cocoa nibs. It's actually aged on cocoa nibs, vanilla beans, cinnamon sticks, and fresh habaneros. So they kind of took a chance with this one, and I think actually knocked it out of the park.
I agree with you on that one.
This is actually a lot of imperial stouts, like I was saying, you can age, but this one they want drink fresh, because when you age things, a lot of flavors drop out, and they want you to taste all these flavors. So, and being bottled on June 15th, I would say it's pretty fresh.
Yeah, cheers to that. That's awesome.
Cheers.
Cheers. And so whenever you and I tasted before, we tasted some of your stouts that you'd been aging. We tasted, I think, the Aces and Eight. What is it? Aces and Eights?
Aces and Eights by Big Boss here in Raleigh. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that was interesting to see how some of the flavor profiles were dropping out as the years went on.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they don't want in this one. They want you to taste exactly what it is, and it's actually kind of neat, because most people don't tell you that, and especially in imperial stouts.
For sure. Tony, what do you think as far as the smell is concerned? What is your initial impression of that?
Well, you can definitely smell, I think, like the vanilla and chocolate and coffee. One of the things I really like about it is just sort of the way it coats the glass. Like when you pour it out, it just seems really rich and thick. And I mean, I don't think it shows up in the video, but it just sort of kind of leaves this little film. But it definitely smells awesome.
Yeah, for sure. I can smell the habaneros in there. We talked about habaneros versus jalapenos. What does anyone have an opinion as far as adding peppers to beers? Like, how does that come about, and how's it working out? I know some of the stuff isn't working out very well because I've tasted some awful beers.
I think it depends, because like a lot of times if you just add heat just to make it hot, it's like, and I think we were talking about it, it's like making a beer extra high gravity just for the sake of making it extra alcoholic. It doesn't contribute anything to it. But because of the chocolate and because it's, kind of this Mexican cake idea, to me it makes sense. Having a little bit of the spice, it's not overpowering. I think like with that Sculpin a while back, depending on the bottle you had, it was just kind of too much.
I
Yeah,
agree
that's
with
definitely
that.
true. Yeah, absolutely. And that's another thing of the stouts is some of the flavors get masked. So as you drink this great Mexican cake, you'll get one flavor profile kind of when it's cold, and then as you can actually hold your glass and warm it up a little bit, and you'll actually get a little bit different flavors. I think the cinnamon comes through a little bit when it gets warmer. Uh, and maybe even habaneros are a little bit more pronounced as it gets warmer. But it's definitely a great multi-layered type beer. It's good.
So something interesting, I noticed that on the one that I have here is the one that my friend from Charleston had for me whenever I went to visit. And it was bottled on 5/13/2015. It's definitely different than the taste of the one that I had at the gallery this week, which was, what'd you say, it was the middle of June?
Actually June 4th.
June 4th? Yeah, so I can taste the difference already. There's a lot of it that's fallen off. The habanero especially is not as prevalent as it was the other day. So that's pretty interesting that they want you to drink it that fast.
Yeah, and there's your proof right there that the habaneros are one of the things that drop out. And I think that's the difference between the jalapenos and the habaneros. Is habaneros will stick around a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
Jalapenos typically will just kind of drop out pretty quick. So that's interesting.
Yeah, it does open more room for the cinnamon and the chocolate, though. It's more of that than anything. But I don't have the burn in my throat like I did the other day when we were tasting the habaneros. And it's definitely not the burn of the habanero sculpin that we've had before. That stuff will stay around for a couple of days.
Yeah, because there's not a whole lot else in there to kind of take the flavor like it is in this with the cocoa and maybe even the vanilla.
Awesome. It is definitely different to taste it after the ciders, too. That's an interesting pairing. It's almost like having dessert here.
Yep, the chocolate. That's it.
Chocolate and the apples and a little bit of champagne. Can't beat that.
It's a party.
Do y'all have any suggestions as far as what you would want to eat with this? I know with a lot of craft beers, it's hard for people to get into it, but once they do, they kind of understand the concept. But we talk about sessionable beers that we can drink, during a certain period. We can drink a lot of them, so lower alcohol kind of things. And then also just your regulars, what you get used to. But whenever you go into craft beers, you want to find something like different flavor profiles to go with different meals. For me, for example, if I'm having a steak dinner or some sort of burger, I prefer to have an IPA. So you don't want to drink 30 IPAs, you just want one to pair with your meal or whatnot. So is there any foods that come to mind right offhand with the ciders or with the Mexican cake for you guys?
Oh, I could kind of see with the cider, maybe pairing it with different cheeses.
It's a good idea.
I think that could be kind of cool. I think with the Mexican cake, I don't think I would want to sort of drink it with food. It's kind of dessert for me, like how you might have a port wine or something after a big meal. And what I like too about the large one is having someone to share it with, because it's so strongly flavored. Yeah, I wouldn't eat any food with it.
Yeah, I think again for the cider, it's just going to be like a light meal. So like a cheese plate, or maybe like I don't know, if you're into like a good spring salad or something with really, because when you're looking at complementary flavors, obviously apples, some sort of like crisp spring salad, but yeah, with the Mexican cake, it is definitely dessert. And the interesting thing about that is you don't want anything to take away from those flavors because they're so distinct and they're so different. A lot of stouts, you'll have with a big meaty steak or something like that, but this one, no. This one's by itself. It's delicious.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I didn't even think about pairing it with cheeses, but that does make sense as far as apples and cheeses, and then the salad. That's a great idea as well. Maybe something with a light vinaigrette, maybe walnuts added to it, maybe strawberries, just something along those lines to keep it fresh. The other day, whenever I had it, I did not think that I would want anything with this Mexican cake, just because it was so strong and so rich, like you guys are saying. I mean, it was ridiculous. But now I can think of something very simple maybe that I would want with it, just with some of these flavors that have dropped out. Maybe some sweet cream cove, vanilla bean, or something just really, really plain, just to have along with it. But other than that, I agree with you guys. Definitely don't want to ruin the Mexican cake. It only comes out once a year.
That's right.
All right. Is there anything else y'all want to talk about?
I don't know. Maybe you could do a little cheese plate at the gallery with the ciders. That could be kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree with that. That would be very fun.
That could be fun, like for the tasting. I mean, I don't know if there's enough time for that, but it would be neat to, like as we talk about stuff to pair things with, if that could be made available for people to try.
Yeah, I can definitely do that. I have some thoughts about that. Maybe if we had 3 different ones, maybe like a sweet, not sweet, maybe like a creamy cheddar, and then what do you think about throwing in some spicy cheeses with the ciders? Would that be a little bit much, or?
I think like a kind of not too spicy, but like a sharp cheddar, Gouda, maybe like a pepper jack or something. Just I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds good. Cheddar, Gouda, pepper jack, and then I have some really buttery type crackers that we could have out as well, so that'll work. But as far as the Mexican cake, I'm not sure we'll have anything else out except for possibly some of the elements that you should be able to taste or smell in there, like the habanero peppers, the cinnamon sticks, that sort of thing. Jim, what do you got?
Well, I was gonna say for that cider, the buttery crackers definitely go with the bourbon, because generally bourbon's kind of a buttery-ish type thing. So that might be kind of interesting. Yeah, and definitely to have the different elements of the Mexican cake would be kind of neat. Even just if you had just a drop of vanilla in a glass or something, so you could smell that and then pick it out of the Mexican cake, or have a couple cinnamon sticks so you could pick it out of the Mexican cake. It'd be kind of interesting to do that. Deconstruct it, if you will. Right? Mm-hmm. That's the whole thing now, is deconstructing things. So.
I agree completely, and I think there's a lot of our clients that come in and they're drinking wine, and we switch them to beer somehow, or vice versa. But I really think it's important for them to understand what beer is about. So a lot of people, they see stout and they don't know what it is. For example, on Saturday we had Tom and Betsy come in. They're strictly white wine drinkers. They sat down and they saw us tasting the Westbrook, the Mexican cakes. So they wanted to try it, and of course fell in love with it. Bought 3 bottles to go instantly. So. They had plans for it. I mean, they had dinner plans with these 3 bottles of Mexican cake. So it is interesting to show people, what the different beers are about. So I really like that they come to the tastings and learn some stuff. But even just saying a stout is a dark beer is a lot more than most people know. So I appreciate you guys helping me with this and trying to get some knowledge out there so these people can learn some stuff and enjoy some good stuff like we are. Not be scared to jump a little bit.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, sharing your knowledge.
Sharing is caring. The more you know.
That's right.
All right, do we have enough? What do you think?
How long did they go?
I have no idea. I am not recording yet. Are y'all ready? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, let's do it all over again.
I think 40 minutes.
I'm kidding. All right. Well, I'm going to stop the broadcast. I'll share it with you guys. I'm not familiar with how to edit it. I really just wanted to make sure. Hey, Sam. I just wanted to make sure that we could get it going. So hopefully we'll get it going and edit it and get it out there.
Cool.
But if not, then we'll work on our next one for next week. I think it's fun either way. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
But what do we got next week?
Wait.
Next week is wine. I'm trying to think of what it is. I think we're still comparing the Lucen Brothers vineyard versus the people that they help on the Villa Wolf farms. I think I have one more of those, which would be I think it's the Riesling maybe? Or maybe we just did that one. I'm not sure.
Okay.
No, I know what it is. It's the Pinot Grigio. It's the Pinot Grigio from Villa Wolf and Dr. Lucen. We're still broadcasting, Sam. We got you. Can't undo that. That's right. That's awesome. All right, well, I'm going to stop broadcasting, so here we go, unless y'all have anything else to say.
Nah, I'm good.
Yep.
All right, grapesandgallery.com. Got to plug it right there. All right, thanks.